Hello, Gills fans, and welcome to this week's The View from the Medway Fancast. This week, the Gills finally returned to winning ways at the weekend, beating league leaders Port Vale 1-0 with a super sub and the club's top scorer, Jaden Clark, not only scoring with his head, but making Mark Bonner's pockets £100 lighter. Is this the turning point of the Gills season, or are we just papering over the cracks? We also heard news today that Kenny Jackett has stepped down from his role as Director of Football due to medical reasons. Join myself, Warren, James, and making his first appearance on the show, Dom, as we talk all things Gills this week. Gentlemen, how are we doing after the weekend?
Happy.
Buzzing.
I'm well happy.
Well, happy and buzzing. That's great. That's a great start. Go on, Warren.
Yeah, winning is everything, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Winning makes the next week go a lot quicker. When you're on a run of 6-7 defeats or one win in 8, whatever you want to call it, right? Work is quite depressing because you get a lot of stick as a Gills fan. And
you do, and we've had to take a lot of stick over the years, haven't we, Warren? Especially you. From what was it, 1927? You started supporting the club.
Yeah, 26.
26. There you go. I knew it was nearly 100 years because, of course, you are the old time geezer on the show, but you are also Mr. I Told You So.
Exactly.
Let's jump on though straight into the show with the Views news. The news of the week. So the new sponsorship of the, potentially new stand. So for those of you who have been absent on social media, Shower Seal UK are now sponsoring our temporary highlighted stand for the next 5 years. Guys, obviously this is great news. We managed to get a multi-year sponsor to sponsor the worst away end in the Football League. James, I mean, I'm going to come to you first on this. This can only mean good things for the Gills, can't it?
I mean, yeah, it's fantastic for all concerned. I know the guy who's in charge of the sponsorship company is a big Gills fan. He seems absolutely delighted. I think he's going with the kind of old adage that bad publicity. No, there's no such thing as bad publicity. All publicity is good publicity. So if anyone's saying that our stand's the worst in the country and his logo's all over it, then he's obviously happy with that. So fair play to the guy. But no, it's a brilliant bit of business. Very bizarre. I wasn't expecting to hear that. But yeah, it seems it suits everybody. And if that's the case, then great. Not all for it. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's definitely great. And obviously a multi-year deal is absolutely excellent for the club. Dom, I've got to ask you first off, welcome to the show, first time on. Really looking forward to what you've got to say tonight. But
Warren was pestering me for a few weeks. I thought I might as well give in at one point.
We've finally twisted your arm and managed to drag you onto the show. But let me ask you then about the ironic nature of it being Shower Seal protecting you from getting wet in this open-ended stand. And now, I don't know if you did see the tweet, but as I did mention, they highlighted the word. There you go. There you go. I did highlight the word temporary. They did highlight the word temporary in their tweet. So, do you think there could be big things ahead for the old Gillingham end?
I mean, while we're in League Two, I don't see the point. I mean, they've already said that, haven't they? They don't really want to do anything with it until we get the crowds, more of the away following, really, to sort of make it a purposeful stand to have open. But as James said, it's money coming into clubs that can only mean good things, really.
Absolutely. Warren, I'm just going to throw this one at you then, just because me and you, we are of that era where we used to go and have to stand to watch a football match. Do you really think this could be a good opportunity then with the sponsorship that down the line we could introduce safe standing down at that end?
I prefer unsafe standing.
Falling over each other.
Yeah. No, honestly, I actually thought that the stand looked as though it was freshened up with all the banners and whatever, and it made the ground look a lot tidier. The temporary bit was a bit of a clue. I think that there are things ahead. Hopefully, it's not going to cost us too much to put that end into use. And if it's safe standing or seats, I don't really mind. If it's for away fans, then I'd like to just see it seats and pull out as much money from an away fan as best you can. With regards to if it's going to be a home end as such, then I'd like to see safe standing introduced into a football match. I hate sitting down. I love going to all the games where you stand up, places like Accrington, a fantastic football grounds. You stand, watch a game, and enjoy the football. You can't beat it.
You can't, and this moves us actually on to my next point, and I'm going to come to you straight away on this one, Warren, because obviously Max Amar, next bit of news, came out in the week and really asked us to, gave his rallying cry, get behind us, stick with the boys, the results are coming. Warren, well, what did you think of it?
It was everything I hate about football in this day and age, honestly. It was soft. If you're going to do a rally crowd, if you're going to do a video, right, I want to see a bit of passion, right, especially from the captain. I want to hear him say, come on, Raymond, we need you to get behind us this week, right? I want to hear the lads are up for it. Not they're a good set of lads in that changing room, right? I want to hear the lads are working hard and they want to right the wrongs of the last few weeks. I don't want to hear all this commercial rubbish. Otherwise, don't do it.
No, I fully get what you mean there. I'll be honest. I think you're in the same boat as me, Dom. I think you said you watched about 30 seconds of it and decided to turn it off. Is it something that we need to really hear from the club when we're obviously struggling? Do we need to hear players come out and say that kind of thing? Or is it, like Warren said, do we just want to hear that bit more passion if they're going to come out?
I think it's the way it comes across sort of galvanise you a bit. If it's a bit just like a mellow tone, then no one's going to really give a toss, to be honest. But if there's a bit more force on the wording, a bit more passion involved, more people get involved and more behind it, I think.
Agree.
I think it's always the case with professional footballers. The only time I really care what any of them got to say is when they're immediately interviewed after a really high passion moment, like
when it's raw,
a last minute winner or something. That when the raw emotion comes out, that's the only time I'm interested in hearing what they've got to say. When it's media trained,
politically correct,
spoon-fed nonsense, who cares? I don't give a monkeys. It doesn't matter what you've got to say. Do your talking on the pitch. That's all you need to do.
It is, James, and I'll come to you on the next point then in our views news about keeping Andrews fit, and that was obviously Bogner coming out in the week saying, look, we're having to give Andrews 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. I think he even said last week that, had he gone into extra time against Blackpool, that Andrews probably would have had to come off because, there's no way he's going to last that long. I think we saw about, 20 minutes or so of him at the weekend, but do you believe this is definitely Andrews is a project that we need to work on and we really need to sort of wrap in cotton wool?
I mean, if it was any other player, I would be really losing patience with it and saying, nah, this is not for us. We don't need this. Pay him off, get him gone, whatever. But a fit Josh Andrews walks into our first 11. You could see on Saturday how much he brings to the team. He brings the nastiness and the difficulty to play against of Ollie Hawkins, with the mobility of an Elliot Nevitt, with the strength of Joe Gabode. He's got all of the elements of our forward players in one player, as far as I'm concerned. And the only issue at the moment is that he is apparently made of biscuits. If we can coach him through that, and we can get his body ready and get him ready for professional football at League 2 level, we have got one hell of a player on our hands. And I think for that reason, he's absolutely worth sticking with and worth giving the time, because he looks the real deal to me. He really does. And we also know he knows where the goal is as well, because in the 5-minute cameos we've seen from him. He's scored a couple of goals. He got a penalty awarded against for making a nuisance of himself. Not a penalty. He got a man sent off, didn't he, for being an absolute nuisance at home. And he's just, we've got to give him the time, I think, because if we can get it right, if we can crack the code, I think we've got a heck of a player there. We really have.
Well, I mean, that's a bold statement saying you've got one hell of a player. So, Dom, I'm going to give you an impossible question. We all said it in the summer that we needed a 20-goal a season striker. Do we have that striker in Andrews?
I wouldn't necessarily say 20 goals, but definitely someone that can help someone else get 20 goals.
Oh, so
he would definitely chip in with, like, maybe 10, 15 if and when fit, but more to help maybe a Nevitt, a Wakeling, just do the dirty work that they have been doing when they've been playing.
Yeah.
Just let them just go out and score the goals. Let Andrews take the kickings, take the elbows, win the flick-ons. I mean, every time we've done well and scored goals, the big man has been in form when I've watched us throughout the years. Bayo, Kevwell, Verdane Oliver. That's when we've scored goals and played well. When the big man doesn't work, we're very flat.
Okay, Warren, then here's one for you. We have a fully fit Josh Andrews in the starting lineup. Out of all the players currently in our squad, who do you play up top with him?
Well, he's got to be Jaden Clark.
Oh, Warren coming out with Jaden Clark.
Yeah, I know. I've told you this for the last few weeks on the show, I've been on the show, right? Jaden Clark is the only striker that we've got, in my opinion, that comes alive in the 18-yard box, right? He may not be very good outside the 18-yard box, in my opinion, but inside the 18-yard box, I think he looks the only player who's liable to get the 20 goals. And I think feeding off somebody like Andrews, right, would definitely help because he sniffs out chances. He's there at the right time, and that you don't teach someone that, you don't coach someone that is just something that's natural, right? Dave Shearer, you probably couldn't ever coach him as a football player, but as a striker inside that 18-yard box, he was lethal, and you can't coach it. It's not something you can go out on a training ground and spend 2, 3, 4 hours a day teaching somebody to be alive in the 18-yard box. With Jaden, I think it's a natural thing, and you can have your Elliot Nevitts and your Wakelins and your Wileys and whatever. But I just think at this moment in time, with the confidence that Jaden's got, right, I'd play him up front alongside a fit Andrews, who, with 2 weeks off now, I'd be sending wherever in the world to get him fit. Whatever's going to get him fit, right, however much money it costs, whether it's 20, 30 grand, I actually think if Andrews was to be fit, then we would stand a chance. If he's not fit, I don't think we have. You look at the difference between Andrews and Hawkins, it's like chalk and cheese. Absolutely. I'm not knocking Hawkins because he does a good job when he's up front, because he gets pulled, shoved, beaten up every game. And he gives 100% of what he's got. But with Andrews, as you alluded to, he's energetic, he's a nuisance, he doesn't mind doing the nasty stuff.
He's quick as well. He's quick.
And he's a lot quicker and mobile. And
okay, so Warren, here's hopefully a question for all of you. Hopefully it's a simple yes or no. But obviously we technically have a free hit tomorrow. You can almost call it a pre-season friendly style game. We're playing Stevenage in the BSL, whatever it's called, Cup that no one cares about. Would you at some point bring Andrews on then and have him up front with Jaden Clark, or would you prefer to maybe mix him up and actually maybe say if Nevitt was able to get 10 minutes, try Andrews and Nevitt?
I'd take our youth team.
Yeah.
Even though we've got the chance of potentially going through, you still just we're 2 goals. All we've got to do is win by 2 goals. We go for it. So do we not go for it?
No, we're not going through. We're not going to win it. End of story. Right.
Just take who needs to go, basically, and keep everyone else who's like 50-50 or not even like 75%. Just leave them at home.
Yeah, take you team, right? Give the first team a rest, right? For the first week, let's give them a break. Don't get them out running or whatever. Any injuries, they come in and they work on it. Whatever injuries or knocks that any of our players have got, then they go in. They do whatever. The rest of them, tell them to take a 2-3 day break abroad somewhere, get a bit of sun. With Andrews, send him off somewhere where we can get him fit. The cost for 20-30 grand for a few days to try and get him fit and sort him out, I think would be a lot better than having to look in January for another player to possibly take his place if he's out injured again.
I know Dak's off to St George's for some specialist care. I don't know who's footing the bill for that, whether that's Gills paying for that or whether Dak's paying for that out of his own pocket.
That's by the PFA. Yeah. So for players who have long-term injuries that they're really struggling, they can go to St George's Park for personal sort of one-on-one training, but they have to be invited, I believe, by the PFA. But let's move on to the last bit of views news, and probably some of the most important views news to hit the view from the Medway. We are now in partnership, with the GFC Supporters Club. We've got a little bit more to come on them a little bit later on in the show, but yeah, really big thanks to Chris going out there working really hard to speak to these guys. And so, yes, we are now in partnership with the GFC Supporters Club. Right, so let's move on to some Port Vale facts. And Port Vale hold the record for the most seasons in the EFL without reaching the first tier, with 113 seasons, which is quite a lot of seasons, almost as many as Warren is alive. They also hold the record for the biggest league defeat, losing 10-0 to Sheffield United in 1892. Although that doesn't sound like a lot. I'm sure I've seen higher scores elsewhere, but that is one hefty scoreline. Let's jump straight, though, on to the lineup. So, obviously, we had Jake Turner in goal. We had a back 3/5 of Max Clark, Shad Oji, Connor Masterson, Max Amar, and Romeo Hutton. Midfield 3 really of Armani Little and Timothy Dehang and Ewan Williams. Playing up top, we then had Marcus Wiley and Jacob Wakeling. I must say, we did have a gorgeous looking bench. Look at that. We had Joe Bode, Jaden Clark, Johnny Williams, George, get my name right. Glenn Morris, Ethan Coleman, who obviously came on quite early, Jack Nolan, and of course Josh Andrews. That's a beautiful looking bench there. It's a bench to rival many League One teams. But here's how we kind of lined up. Yes, it was 3 playing at the back, 2 wing backs, 3 in the middle, really 2 holding, with Tim Dieng pushing on, supporting Jacob Wakeling and Marcus Wiley. So, guys, let's get into the game. And from my opinion, lots of great effort in the first and the second third, but we really are struggling in that top third. So, James, look, I'm going to come to you to start it off. Give us your overall real thoughts on the game. Obviously the Amani Little injury, the penalty that could have been, should have been, who knows? What were your overall thoughts after 90 minutes?
Okay, well, it's hard to do this, but just take the scoreline out of the equation, and it's a carbon copy of the last 8, 9, 10 games, isn't it? Really, it was lots of huff and puff. I'm not questioning the work ethic. There was plenty of huff and puff, lots of endeavour, but we never, ever, ever really looked like scoring. Neither did they, to be fair, other than Stockley, who's I still don't know how he missed that chance. And as you alluded to,
it was harder to miss than it was to score, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how he missed that, but he did. I think the footballing gods were smiling on us on Saturday because obviously he misses, a player in his form missing a sitter like that, and then as you alluded to, they had, I think we can all agree, what was a stonewall penalty. I don't know how that wasn't given. Jake Turner doing a Jake Turner thing. I'm not Jake Turner's biggest fan at all, and they should have had a penalty. So you could argue that they probably should have been out of sight, but they weren't. We somehow stayed strong. Defensively, I thought we were okay. And in midfield, obviously another big blow, losing Armani Little. And again, really worrying that it's clearly a conditioning injury. It wasn't an impact injury. It looks like a hamstring. So again, are there question marks about what's going on behind the scenes with our fitness? I don't know. There seems to be too many of these sort of injuries to let that pass by. I thought Coleman did very well when he came on, though, to be fair to him. I've been a bit critical of him recently, but I thought he did well when he came on Saturday. Wiley and Wakelin worked hard. Wakelin, again, continuing to prove me wrong. I wasn't his biggest fan, but I think he looks like a real good player. But they were really, hunting around for scraps, the pair of them, and did a reasonable job. But obviously we take the 3 points away, which is fantastic. But overall, you used it in the opening. I can't help thinking it's just papering over the cracks. And I would not be surprised if the real Gillingham turn up against Harrogate in a couple of weeks' time and we revert to type. I really hope I'm wrong, but that's possibly what could happen, because I don't think that the problems at foundation level have been solved.
So yeah, I do agree, and Dom, I hate to almost put you in this impossible position to get you to answer this, but when you look at the total shots at home, 4 in total, with only one of them being on target, and that obviously being the goal. Are we really going to struggle if we can't build that number up, or are we looking at, are we looking at almost a blip in the cloud and it's a blip in the sky, and this is just, a dark moment we are going through, and things will get better once these players return? Or is this something you've seen for the last few years from Gillingham teams?
I think it will get better. Once players are back, it will get better. I think the thing about Saturday was that I think it was just two teams just cancelling each other out, and that's why it was such inferior. It was a dull game, not through lack of effort, but it was just two teams that just cancelled each other out. I think the first 15 minutes we was good, intensity was good, pressing was good. We had a couple of crosses across the box. I think Wiley crossed in, or might have been Wakelin, that no one was on the end of. And if someone was on the end of it, an informed striker maybe, we 1-0 up in 5 minutes. And then I think after that, Little going off sort of killed a little bit of momentum, because we had a good passage of possession in that period, and then as soon as he went off, we sort of just, I think, dropped off a little bit. Maybe his lack of confidence. Now he's gone off. But as James said, they had a stonewall penalty that should have been given, and it could have been a different game if that had gone in. But again, in the second half, I think Vale had a bit more of the ball, probably because Little had gone off. We sort of sat back a little bit, and Stockley should have scored that chance. That's bread and butter for him. If that was one of our strikers, we'd be going absolutely mental if he'd have missed that. But the one thing I'd like to say about our goal especially was the intuition from Nolan to take the quick throw in instead of settling for the point at the time. And credit to Marston for getting the ball in. Obviously, credit to Clark getting in the right area at the right time, as Warren keeps alluding to. But it's a game of one big chance each. We took theirs, they didn't take theirs, and it's 3 points at the end of the day, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, Warren, it was kind of almost ironic. We've got, a really good crosser in the team in Romeo Hutton. He wasn't the one to put the ball in. It was actually a really, really good little cross in from Connor Masterson. And Jalen Clark, the guy who has been criticised from the sounds of it by Bonner for not using his head, finally gets one. And as I mentioned earlier, makes Mark Bonner £100 lighter. I really do hope, and we're going to have to double check, Mark Bonner has paid that. Otherwise, there might be a bit of a whip round, I'm sure. But yeah, the intuition there from Clark and Masterson to take that throw in from Nolan and Masterson to take that throw in very quickly and get the ball moving was great. And Jaden Clark sort of, I mean, he's our top goal scorer. He's really on form at the moment. And can you be honest? Did you expect Jaden Clark at this point in the season to be our top goal scorer?
Absolutely not. But as I've said, he comes alive in a box. I was glad to see Bonner start him up front. Up until he scored, he played up front in the two, and then when we scored, he got back in to make an extra man in midfield. But I honestly would really give it a go with Jaden up front. As for the throw-in from Nolan to Masterson and whatever, it was the only quick thing we did all game.
And it worked, thankfully.
And it worked. My biggest, I love it when we win 1-0. I couldn't care less whether it was a crap game, and to be honest, both teams were awful. I didn't think Port Vale were very good. They're a bunch of 6-footers. They kick the way out of the league. They go up, absolutely no problems. They're not going to turn teams over 4-5-0, but they're not going to get beat very often. Their centre halves just defended. There was none of this fanning around at the back with them. They just hoofed it. The things I was disappointed with on Saturday, right, it wasn't effort, because effort-wise, we put in 100% every player.
Yeah.
Right? Every player that started, came on a sub, everyone was putting in the effort, and I felt like they was all together as one. But my issues are, we still don't do things quickly enough. We don't pass the ball quickly enough. We don't move off the ball quick enough. Everything's slow. I think it was 0-0. There was a point in the first half where it was 0-0, and Turner got the ball, and Max is going, calm down, slow down. And there was a big kick. Wakeling had made I think it was either Wakeling or Wiley had made a run off to the right, and there's Max saying to Turner to slow it down. It was a perfect opportunity to try and release the ball, because Turner has got a good kick on him, right? And I think he could have released him. And playing Wakeling and Wiley up front with their three centre halves was good if we could have got Wakeling and Wiley in behind the back of them. But we just didn't get the ball quick enough. And by the time they made their run, it was either covered off or too late by the time we passed the ball. But my biggest criticism of this Gillingham team is I don't think they've got much moral backbone, because there was a spell in the second half. There was a 5-minute spell, and I was sitting next to the bloke I was sitting next to on Saturday. Don't know him from Adam. And we was talking about players just hanging out a leg, not putting in a tackle, being second best for second ball. We're never there. And it's the thing that's really frustrating me with this team at the moment.
So, James, Warren did make a really good point there earlier about us being slow, and it's something you don't just notice at Gillingham Football Club. You do notice across the entire sort of footballing world that the game has seemed to have slowed down quite a bit. But that's not really in Gillingham's sort of heritage and style, really, is it? We were always that hard-facing team, always willing to. I mean, I'm not going to presume that how old you are, but I'm sure you're of the era of me seeing the likes of Andy Hess and Tyler really going in and making these big, strong tackles. And do you really think now managers are almost tightening the noose around these players' necks too tightly and are stopping them to have that creative and explosive freedom that we're used to seeing from football in the early 90s, late 90s?
At a higher level, yes. Definitely you can apply that to your Man Cities of the world and Pep Guardiola and the world-class coaches, definitely, who've got a huge influence on how the game is played. At our level, no, I don't buy it. I don't think Mark Bonner's saying to our guys, slow it down, don't make incisive runs, don't make defence splitting passes, don't try and stretch the lines. I don't think he's doing those things, to be honest with you. And I just think we're just limited. We are just limited with what we've got. There's two goals we've scored this season which stand out for me. There's the Nevitt goal against Notts County and the Jaden Clark goal at home to Chesterfield. No, Barrow. Was it Barrow who scored? Defence splitting pass, incisive run, positive, quick, back of the net. And it's really hard to defend against, and we don't do it enough. And I don't understand why teams like Gillingham insist on playing this possession football around the back line. I'm not advocating lump it long all the time, but get it forward quickly. Move through the lines quicker. Try and stretch the play. Try and turn, let's be honest, at this level, some cartels defenders around. We don't do it enough. And I don't know if any of you saw the Jutta goal for Notts County at the weekend. I mean, what a move, what a finish. Just fantastic, incisive football. And that's what I want to see at Gills. And unfortunately, at the moment, I just don't think we've got the personnel to do it. And it's not through lack of effort, as Warren said. There's plenty of effort out there. I just think we're a bit limited.
So, Dom, look, I mean, James has just said there, look, we're limited. We don't have the personnel. Is that are the personnel that we have currently injured, or are we begging and waiting for January to come around to be able to delve into the market? What's your take on that?
I think it's a mix of both, really. Injuries haven't helped, definitely. But then you can look at some players like, who doesn't get the game time now, Johnny Williams. Like you'd think he'd be that type of player to make that pass, that that ball over the top, that ball that splits the lines, and he can't even get in the team. And that's a personnel thing. Like he's just absolutely not anywhere near any sort of form, and there's a reason why. Ewan Williams is now ahead of him in the team. It's them sort of players that need to start turning up a little bit more, and then we might see a bit more from players. If you've got Johnny Williams, an on-form Johnny Williams, for example, playing that ball over the top, you're going to make that run. But if you've got someone that's playing now that you haven't got the confidence in, that's going to make that pass, you're going to limit yourself to maybe not run as much or make that incisive run.
Yeah, and look, I'll be honest, there was a good point made the other day on social media after the game that obviously I think Bonner hasn't actually stuck with the same squad since the start of the season. There's not been any one game where he's had the same amount of players. So, Warren, with all these times that these players are mixing up on the pitch and Bonner's not been able to get out a consistent starting 11, do you think that communication then between those players is something that is really affecting us going forward, and this is why we are struggling, because people don't expect the instinctive pass from the likes of Williams or whatever to come because they're not playing together enough?
Yeah, it's a tough one to call. To me, they're all professional footballers, and they're at Gillingham, especially in League Two. Our players are getting well paid, right, compared to a lot of other teams. I don't hold with this. They don't play enough, or we're worried about injuries. The players that we've got available, they're all earning enough money to be able to play football, right? I just think I think this is, we're talking about managers and how English football has slowed down, especially in the lower leagues. I honestly believe it's the Southgate effect coming from St George's Park and the way we teach our coaches now. You look at Harris, Clements, Bonner, all their preferred options are 4-2-3-1, because that's how Southgate plays. Southgate introduced a brand of football which is possession based, and that means knocking it around the back, trying to look pretty, looking at stats like how many passes, how many miles we run, and this seems to become more and more important than actually putting the ball in the back of the net and providing entertainment. This season, there's probably been 3 games that I've enjoyed this season out of all the games that I've seen, right? And that's probably Notts County, Tranmere and Carlisle were probably the 3 really enjoyable games. I didn't go to the Chesterfield home game. I saw it on the telly. Barrow was a hard-fought victory, but is entertainment part and parcel of the DNA of our new managers in English football, especially at EFL level? Absolutely not. It's all this stats. Look at my team. Look at the stats. We passed the ball 600 times. Okay, we didn't get past the halfway line, but we passed it 600 times and we kept possession. And our players have run 14.8 kilometres and done 20,000 sprints during a game. Didn't achieve nothing, but look at the stats. And I think we've gone too far towards this XG nonsense and whatever. And we're not looking to provide entertainment on a football pitch now.
It's a great point. It's a great point.
The last time we saw 3 games on the trot at Gillingham, which were entertaining.
Hang on, 1990. Yeah, it's been a while. It's definitely been a while, Warren. You do make a valid point, and unfortunately, football again, because it has come down from the likes of the Premier League and the FA, statisticians have got a really important part now to play in all of these football clubs. So, James, look, I'll before we move on to our man of the match, in fact, this will be for all of you. Gillingham Football Club, for me, Gillingham Football Club players, they're not stats-based players because they're not necessarily the ones that, ping the 100-yard ball and the pinpoint, onto a dime and all that. They're the ones that fight, don't give up, and literally will never say surrender. With the current squad that we have, I don't need to know names, but how many in that squad can you see that have that Gillingham fighting spirit?
Oh, I'll give you names. I think what's worrying, or maybe not worrying, but Warren makes a great point. We clearly, it's been alluded to quite a lot, that we look at the analytics quite a lot, and a lot of decisions are being made on analytics. Don't get me wrong. Of course, there is a place for it in sport, in football, but it isn't everything. It really isn't. And if we're relying purely on those, then that's probably close to where we're going wrong. I think the players that you're talking about in our squad at the moment, I would say Glenn Morris, Armani Little, Joe Bode, Marcus Wiley,
Masterson, I'll chuck in there.
Masterson, and Shadow D as well. And after that, I'm struggling.
Yeah. Dom, anyone else to add to it?
No, I think you pretty much covered it, to be fair. I think it does sort of link to why we're sort of in the same situation for the last 3 years. It's the same backbone, which hasn't got us anywhere. Even though we've made new signings like this season, for example, like last season, for example, made great signings on paper, but is it the personality? Is it the professionalism of the reason why we're not just getting to where we want to be? I know we're just outside at the moment, but is that the reason why? It's a tough question.
Warren, what about you? Anyone else you'd take or add to that or take away from it?
No, I haven't got a lot of time for this current squad. I don't think they show enough backbone, to be honest. When the chips are down, I don't think they come out fighting. There's a couple. Masterson is probably one of the few. Shadowgi that he don't want to tackle. I mean, you look at Ethan Coleman from this time last year to now.
Different player.
It looks a different player. I don't know whether it's because he's lost a yard of pace or whatever, but last year he was making good tackles in front of the back four and protecting the back four. Now all you see him do is stupid little fouls, which he's getting booked for, which he's got no need to do. I think injuries have got a lot to play for, not to count for. I think Aaron Rowe on the left-hand side of midfield is quite a big loss. Obviously, a fit Dak would fit into any side in League Two.
Dak's not getting fit. We're not going to see Dak. We're not going to see Dak.
I agree. I think it was a shit signing when we first signed him. I would have spent the money elsewhere, but that was just a personal opinion. There's too much romance in that signing rather than actual. Let's look at what he's got and what he hasn't got at this stage in his career. For me, with Bonner, he's got two very inexperienced coaches. They've been coaching for a long time, but they're very inexperienced at this level, and I think that may hinder us just a little bit. They may be good at other stuff, but coaching at this level, I just think that in League Two, you've got to have the best 18-man squad. We haven't got that. I think that's Notts County. Sometimes you just got to play ugly, and you've got to battle, and you've got to bully teams, and that's how Port Vale will get promoted this year.
Yeah.
They will go out and bully teams. They're not necessarily that good. I know they had a couple of midfield players missing Saturday, but their creativity, whatever. I mean, I think we're just fortunate that Jaden Stockley was still on the Blackpool Sands having a trot up the field from his time at Fleetwood rather than being on the south coast of Kent.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could definitely tell that was definitely Stockley, not Stockley's best game, because not long afterwards he did get subbed off. But let's move on to the man of the matches. And for the first time ever, I think we've all picked somebody completely different. So look, one by one, we'll go through. And Warren, look, I did cut you off a minute ago, so look, I'll let you go first. You picked Max Amar.
Yeah, I actually thought that Max did lead from the front on Saturday. Jaden Stockley is not an easy character to keep hold of. And normally when you play a back three, it's not the central defender that takes responsibility for looking after the big striker. But I think Max took on that responsibility on Saturday. He battled. They had a good fight, him and Stockley, throughout the game. And it was the first time that I've actually seen Max actually wanting to win headers. I thought he led by example on Saturday, and in a game with very little quality, I thought that Max just shaded it above Connor, and then Jacob Wakeling and Marcus Wiley up front worked tirelessly without much reward, but they put in a real shift. Apart from that, there wasn't a lot else.
Well, James, I'll come to you next then, because obviously you did pick Jacob Wakeling. How come he got your vote?
It was 50-50 between him and Wiley for me. As Warren just said, they both worked really tirelessly, both put in a lot of effort for very little return. I just gave it to Wakeling just because I'm pleased to say he keeps proving me wrong. When we first signed him, I thought it was a panic signing. And for the first appearance or two, I was not impressed at all. I thought, well, what have we got here? But I must admit, he keeps putting in the performances, putting in the hard yards. And I thought on Saturday, he looked lively all the time. Every time the ball, went forward, he was a willing runner. He always looked like he was willing to put himself out there. And yeah, so it's more, it feels a bit like a participation award from me this week, because there was a few I've given it to Wakeling, but I'm not saying he was particularly head and shoulders above everybody else. But I just sort of noticed him a bit more, I think, really on Saturday, because he's proved me wrong so much, and I keep waiting for him to kind of have a bad game and sort of so I can say, oh, there you go, I knew he was rubbish. But no, he's not. He's good, and I thought he did well on Saturday.
No, yeah, I think he did. I think he did really well. He kind of, he almost went a bit unsung. I think, a lot of work off the ball. And talking about work off the ball, Ewan Williams, I thought he was excellent. And Dom, you gave him your man of the match. I mean, bearing in mind, obviously the debut, the getting sent off against Swansea, the international call-ups, and not seeing him for weeks, he's really starting to come into his own, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I think that just shows maybe what he's doing off the pitch to get back in the team after that debut, really. Now, if he's setting a standard like that, and he's only young, isn't he? I think he's only got 21, 22.
Yeah, still a young guy, yeah.
If he's coming back after being sent off on your debut, and now he's back in the team after probably not being featured for maybe like 4 or 5 weeks. I think it just shows the character that's there at a young age, which is good to see. I think the best thing about Saturday was that he's one of the very few that I've seen so far this season that want the ball to feet and look up straight away.
Yeah.
And it's so good to see in midfield, and especially in the midfield that we've had so far this season, with a bit more reserved, a bit more worried about protecting instead of actually going forward. And I think even with Little going off, it didn't hamper him at all. He still played exactly the same way, and that's why I thought he was excellent.
No, he was excellent. And actually, for me, it was a toss-up between either Ewan or my eventual pick, which was Connor. Connor just shaved it mainly for the fact he did assist the goal, and I thought that it was excellent play on the wing with Nolan there to get him to throw the ball in quickly and get the ball down. And look, for a guy who's a centre-back, it was a pretty accurate cross to find Clark's head. But also when you look into, and I know we were talking about stats a minute ago, but when you actually look into his stats, 73% accurate passes, he won over 50% of his aerial duels, a game which against the likes of Jalen Stockley is a brilliant thing to be doing. Won over 50% of his ground duels. So we take 2 really good crosses. He's put in one of them, obviously, which led to the goal. In fact, look, here we go. We've got the viewing focus. We actually did against Max Amar. Both played 90 minutes, both 2 clearances, 2 block shots from Connor, none from Max. But 3 interceptions from Max, none from Connor. 2 fouls to 1 from Connor, and the assist, obviously, as well. Guys, we at the start of the season with Connor being injured, we had obviously the reliable backup in Shad. He's a good understudy to have, but we were crying out from pretty much from day one for this Connor Max Amar partnership, because last year they really did gel and start to build up a really strong partnership. Do you think this is our set partnership for our back 2 now, for back 3 at least for the rest of the year, having Connor and Max in the team?
Yeah, I think on his day, Shad's better than both of them. But unfortunately, he's also got a ricket in him every...
It's the consistency with Shad.
Yeah,
nothing against him, but it's just he has that odd moment where he's just on a different planet.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't rely on that. So, yeah, for reliability-wise, I would say these 2 are the first choice pairing, definitely. I mean,
they're working really well together.
Yeah,
all 3 of them.
We've only conceded, I think we've conceded the least out of the top 10. Which is a pretty good defensive stat, really, to be honest with you. And I think, let's be honest, defense is not our problem. It's just not. I'm not worried about the defense at all.
So Dom, then look, I'm not calling for his head or anything like that, but look, if Max was to step down, would you be happy with it being a Connor Masterson Shadoji back pairing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Connor's got enough experience in him now to sort of take Shad underneath his wing and make him a better player, in my opinion. I think Marston is our best centre half for me by some distance. And when he's not there, when he's not there.
Yeah.
Look, Warren, I know you sort of gave him a little bit of a stick earlier, but Max Amar, look, he's played, good a couple hundred times for the club. He's been at the club now for nearly 10 years. Do you think the criticism that he does receive, normally on a weekly basis is just, or do you think that people need a scapegoat and he's the easiest person to pick out?
Yeah, I haven't had a go at Max Amar. I think he's just a bog standard League 2 centre half. I thought when he first came to Gillingham, I thought he was outstanding. But as he's got older, he's turned into a bog standard centre half. I think he does his job. It doesn't help that his distribution is quite poor, and he's slowing up as he gets older. I still think Amar and Masterson are our best partnership out of 3. Shad, unfortunately, has got a mistake in him. I think there was a point in the first half when Port Vale completely got around the back of us, and Shad was at fault. He just got caught in no man's land, and I think Amar had a go at him, Bonner had a go at him, and then Shad sulked for 5 minutes, and then came out. I was surprised to see him come out second half, to be honest. But he soaked, and I think that just shows the immaturity of Shad at the moment. Don't get me wrong, he'd give 100%, and I think some of the performances he's put in and some of the tackles he's put in have been outstanding. He puts his body on the line every week, but there's a mistake in it, and unfortunately,
there is.
At this level, mistakes get punished.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10.
They do.
And
They do, and
in Aimer and Masterson, I just think that personally, I'd be looking for another centre half in the transfer window. Someone big, ugly, strong.
Well, let me stop you there quickly, just because I just need to give a shout out to German Gills, who first off, before I post this comment, German Gills, get out of my mind, because this was the next question I was about to ask. He's come up with a brilliant question. Let me just get it up to show. How many seasons do you think Amar has left in him? Could this be his last in a Gill shirt? So yeah, first German Gills, get out of my brain, because I was literally about to ask the guys the same thing of, could this potentially be Max's last season at the club? Guys, yes, no, tell me what you think. James, I'll start with you.
Potentially, yeah, absolutely. It could be his last season, but I think if it's a big if we went up, I'd be saying thank you very much and goodbye. But if we, as I think we will, inevitably end up in League Two again next season, would I be upset if Max is here for another year? No, absolutely not. I think he's fine. I think he's got another year in him probably. Been a great servant. Not everyone's his biggest fan, I know. He does what he does. You know what you're going to get from Max. He's not a captain for me, but there you go. But no, I think he's probably got another season in him.
Dom, what about yourself?
I think definitely if we did go up, then yeah, I think that's thank you very much, and best wishes. If we stayed down, if he would accept being second fiddle, yes, but I don't think someone of his earning or supposed earning would be someone we want to be sitting on the bench. So for that reason, I would, if we could move him on, I would do it either way, whether we went up or we didn't. I think we need to sort of move on in that respect.
One more about you. Do you think this is his last in the blue and white of Gillingham?
All depends if you can get better. If you can get better, then you sign better. At the end of the season, he's out of contract, and you release him and you say thank you very much. Maybe give him a little testimonial game to say thank you for your efforts. Appreciate that. But at the end of the day, if you're going to ask me, would we keep him? No, he'd be one of a long list of players that I'd be letting go at the end of the season.
Well, look, first off, let's go on to the attendances then, because I've got to say a massive shout out to the 523 away Port Vale fans who've come all the way down to watch their team lose to the mighty blue and white of Gillingham, of course, but to the 5,744 of you backing our boys to the end of the game. Thank you so much. So a total of 6,267. Not the best, but not the worst. A little bit of a look ahead. Obviously, Harrogate, which is in 2 weeks' time because of the Walsall game being called off due to internationals. If only we were that lucky to have internationals in our team. We are playing Harrogate. Their last 5 games are draw, loss, win, and then a loss, with ours being loss, draw, loss, win. Guys, I'm going to ask you 2 quick questions. Now, we're 2 weeks away, so first off, I want you to tell me your predicted score for the week, and I'm going to write these down, and I'm going to come back to you in 2 weeks' time. But the other thing is how important is a win at home again against Harrogate in 2 weeks' time? So, James, I'll start with you. Are we going to win? How important is it? So, and what's the score going to be?
What a difficult question. Are we going to win? No. I think we're going to revert to type. I don't think we're going to go we're going to be terrible. I think it's going to be another boring, hard-fought draw. I'm going to say 1-1. What I want is for us to take this 3 points we've got on Saturday and run with it and get back-to-back wins and cement the comeback. Do I think we'll do that? No.
Don, what about yourself?
I'm pretty confident, to be honest. I think these 14, 15 days are going to do us a world of good. After tomorrow, obviously not having a game. Walsall being called off, I said it on Twitter, it's probably one of our best results of the season. It being called off, so it's going to give us time to get people hopefully back fit. Because I think Bonner's alluded to it, saying that people will be back for Harrogate. Hopefully that is the case. And for that reason, I think we'll have a solid 2-1.
2-1, that was the scoreline I would have gone with as well. Warren,
Probably
what
2-1.
about yourself? Don't tell me it's going to be 3-0 Jayden Clark hat-trick.
If he's up front.
If he's playing at the back. Yeah, I'm not a great predictor, although I've got this weekend's right. It's just one of them games. Unfortunately, we just don't know what Gillingham we're going to get.
Yeah.
We could quite easily run out 3-0 winners. We could quite easily get smashed 3-0 at home. It's very tough to predict a Gillingham scoreline. I'm going to go 2-1 Harrogate.
Wow. Do you know what?
It's good job we're positive, man.
From the show. How dare you say that?
Even I wasn't that negative.
No. I've changed my mind.
When I suggested you coming on the show, I didn't realise that you'd be Matt's son.
Do you know? Look, for me personally, I'm thinking the 2 weeks off is a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely.
I said I think we got a chance tomorrow night to be able to give some of the guys that haven't had minutes a run out. So the likes of Johnny Williams, the likes of Joe Bode, maybe even let's start him up top and give him 90 minutes as the main out and out striker. But hopefully with 2 weeks time, hopefully Aaron Rowe will be closer to fitness. Nevitt will be back closer to fitness. Who knows? Andrews will be able to hopefully be fully back. So I am quietly confident, but in terms of an actual score prediction, ask me 24 hours before the game and I'll probably tell you we're going to beat them 7-0. But then again, I believe we're going to beat Man United 7-0. Let's jump on to the next side. This is a really important one, guys. As I said, we are now obviously in partnership with the Gillingham Football Club Gillingham Supporters Club. If you haven't already, they do ask you please to come along and join. They do 1 year membership for adults for £10, 3 years for £20. So a nice big saving to save up for 3 years. You'll get everything from money off away travel on the coach. They always have their parking as well on Barnsley Road. They've even got a little social club you can pop into before game and after game to have a couple of pints. Guys, please jump onto the website, have a look, and if you aren't a member, sign up today for the Gillingham Supporters Club. And if you're not a supporter of the club, what are you doing? Watching the view from the Medway. Go away. Gillingham Football Club are the greatest football club in the history of football, and that is a fact. You have been watching the view from the Medway. I've been Matt. He's been James. He's been Dom. He's been the old man, Warren. Please like, follow, subscribe, and we will see you guys next week. Up the Gills.
Right. Up the Gills.